I'm Douglas Mason, CEO of Naturally Splendid, symbol NSP on the TSX Venture Exchange. Naturally Splendid is a biotechnology and consumer products company focused on the global cannabis and health markets. Naturally Splendid is expanding distribution in this rapidly growing market with products currently in Canada, the USA, South Korea, Germany, and Australia. To view our comprehensive company presentation and for more information, please visit our website at naturallysplendid.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Ted Dixon, CEO and co-founder of IncResearch.ca. He invented the Inc. Canadian Insider Index, which is used by the Horizons Canadian Insider Index ETF, a 2017 and 2018 Fund Data Fund Grade A Plus Award winner. His website, CanadianInsider.com. Welcome back to the show, Ted.
Jim, it's a pleasure to be back.
Ted, we're hearing reports that a First Nations group wants to buy a majority share of the Trans Mountain Pipeline. Is that a good move?
Well, it's an interesting development. What's happening, I assume you're talking about the natural gas pipeline in northern British Columbia.
No, we're talking about the oil pipeline.
Oh, the full pipeline,
yes.
The full company.
Yeah, the one that Canadian taxpayers own right now.
Oh, okay. No, I thought you were talking about TransCanada. You said Trans Mountain, right?
Yeah, that's right, Trans Mountain.
Right. There have been reports of that, and the problem is, though, that based off of the modus operandi of the current federal government, all it takes is one group to hold the whole project up, and the whole project is held up. So really it's not going to move the needle until you have a government in Ottawa that's determined to get the pipeline built, which is not currently the case. We have a government that spent billions of our money to essentially freeze the pipeline expansion, and I don't know really what they're thinking, but I mean, this is only in government would you make an investment of billions of dollars only to have your investment kind of whittle away and do nothing. So that's what we've got. I know there's all sorts of excuses that you'll get from Ottawa, and certainly no shortage of partisanship on that pipeline. But the fact of the matter is, it's not going anywhere, the expansion, and seeing is believing. Show me the money, and I guess at the end of the day, if any investor wants to come in and take a slice of the pipeline, that's great, because the sooner the taxpayers can get out of that investment and turn it back into private hands, whoever that may be, whether it's a First Nations group or another private set of investors, that'll be a positive for the taxpayer, provided, of course, we don't lose our shirts in the process.
Well, the advantage of a First Nations group, of course, is that it's pretty hard to protest something you own.
Right, but again, all it takes is one group, right? So you may have, and we already have a number of First Nations groups that support the pipeline, but that doesn't matter, because all it takes is a handful to oppose it, and then you've got the Justin Trudeau government operating like a deer in the headlights, not knowing what to do. They get a court ruling, and that throws the whole thing into deep freeze. Yet they're running around moving heaven and earth to try and play games with SNC-Lavalin. So the federal government is not a friend of this pipeline. They're not a friend of the taxpayer, Jim. I mean, they're wasting billions of dollars on a pipeline that could have been built by the private sector. So it's a total mess. It's still a total mess. But great. Maybe we've got some First Nation investors who see an opportunity and believe this will get settled, and good for them. I hope they're right, and that would be fantastic if we get any type of private investment in, provided, of course, it's on terms that are reasonable for the taxpayer.
And the government, of course, could have passed legislation, the Pipeline Enactment Act, that could have got this thing pushed through in a minute.
Well, if they were so concerned about jobs, like they profess to be about SNC-Lavalin, where they're willing to push the Attorney General into doing something which she believes would have been illegal, surely if they really had really wanted to get this pipeline built, they could pass legislation to legally get it built. But let's face it, the Justin Trudeau core constituency is quite happy to see this pipeline go nowhere, and they're quite happy to blow billions of dollars of our money on it to make it go nowhere. So it's really a sad situation, and Canadians are going to have to make a choice coming up in October. The choices aren't that great because we've got a fragmented opposition that's not really distinguishing itself as being something that's a strong alternative, but alternative it is, and certainly and when it comes to the pipeline, I can't imagine that Andrew Scheer underperforming Justin Trudeau on the pipeline file by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, anything would be an improvement over what we've seen out of Ottawa in the last year or two on that pipeline file.
Well, now we're hearing from the infrastructure minister, maybe they'll change the rules if SNC is convicted so that they won't lose the right to bid on federal government contracts over the next 10 years. So, interference in the criminal code, which they did a year and a half ago just for SNC, would still continue. And now companies don't want to do business with SNC. They think they're a tainted company. Well,
they were already blacklisted by the World Bank, I believe,
yes,
on certain projects. So, this is not new. I heard the CEO a week or two ago from SNC-Lavalin who seemed quite credible, and they're working to make sure that they're positioned for the future. They've got a good order book. So I'm not quite sure why the government is so obsessed with this file, where they've got bigger problems when it comes to jobs in Western Canada in terms of the oil patch and the Trans Mountain Pipeline. But for some reason, this SNC-Lavalin file is right at the top of their list. And, so there's something there, Jim, that doesn't pass the smell test. There's something there, and that's why the issue is lingering. That's why it won't go away. This issue, the SNC-Lavalin issue, could have been dealt with easily by the government 6 weeks ago, but they've hung on, they've clung on to try and for some reason get a deal done that's quite remarkable, given all the bad publicity, not just publicity, but everything that's come out in terms of the interference that's going on. Come on, guys and gals, those mostly guys now, I guess, in the government. Why are you spending so much time on SNC-Lavalin when there's other problems in the rest of the country? We need some jobs in the oil patch too. It's not just a few headquarters jobs in Montreal that they should be worrying about.
Well, hundreds of thousands of people work in oil and gas. Trudeau keeps saying 9,000 jobs at SNC. The CEO at SNC says
there's absolutely no proof on that, and even the CEO said that's not true. So and yet the day after the CEO said that, you had the Prime Minister saying it was 10,000 jobs. So it is absolutely remarkable. I'm actually surprised that you haven't seen more concern in the Liberal Party about the Prime Minister's leadership here, because it seems completely on another planet in terms of his reality. Now, that may just be his style. You repeat a lie often enough, and people may believe it. I mean, that's he's taking Canadians as a bunch of fools. But I think it's pretty obvious who the fool is in this in this saga, and it's not Canadians. It's the guy at the top.
We'll have more with Ted Dixon right after this.
Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and the Yukon. Trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the pink symbol ABN AF. surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines. Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Ted Dixon. Ted, you said something interesting about what's going on. Transport selling off, but people are buying energy?
Well, in the U.S. market, we track what insiders are doing. And what we've seen is a big divergence between what insiders in the transportation group are doing and what insiders in the exploration and production area of the energy sector are doing. In the energy sector, insiders are buying, and it's the most positive area of insider activity we see in the U.S. market. Yet, over in the transports, and this is going to be up on Canadian Insider after the broadcast tonight, we show that insider sentiment in the transportation area in the U.S. is really at depressed levels, the same levels we saw early in the fall last year, right before the peak. So that gives us some concern. Now, when you see weakness in transports, that could be a negative sign for the entire market. But there's something else that may be going on here as well, in that the transports have outperformed the energy sector, especially the exploration production group, by a huge amount over the past 5 years. So maybe we're going to see what we call a mean reversion, whereas the transports start to give up some of those gains, and the energy groups start to close that underperformance gap. They start to gain some ground back on the transportation group. And what would that imply? Well, it probably implies firmer fuel prices going ahead. We'll have to see. But that's one interpretation of what might be going on here.
Also, Donald Trump now saying he's urging OPEC to up their production, not cut it like they promised to. What's behind that?
Well, that's an interesting one as well. There's two interpretations at least on it. One is that he's worried about Venezuela, that there's going to be a supply shortage, so he wants OPEC to sort of make that up. But the other is that he actually has a sense that the economy is doing better generally, globally, than a lot of people think, and he's worried that there isn't going to be enough production to meet that. Now, it could be a combination of both. So the energy sector sort of sold off here on that tweet. There's two interpretations of it, and traders are probably overreacting. You've probably got a lot of algorithmic traders who just took that tweet and sold the news. So we'll see how oil prices do in the next couple of days. If they rebound, it could be a really positive indication that the global economy is doing a little bit better than some of the gloomy expectations that are out there right now. You wouldn't know that in the bond market. Bond market, Jim, has sold off. The yields have come down. The bond market has rallied a lot more than we expected. I think on your show a couple of weeks ago, we suggested that bond yields would likely move up, but that's definitely not the case. The insiders in the U.S. insurance industry, which we were kind of looking at as one of the gauges, they've taken a lot of profits over the past month. So the path of interest rates now on the bond market is pretty uncertain. I'm very surprised how low it's got. I'm not surprised that the bond market's kind of sold off a bit here today, and we see the yields creeping back up a little bit. But you know what? On the very short end, the 3-month, 12-month, 1-year yields, they haven't really moved much today. And so I'm a little surprised to see the gold price take a big hit. I think, again, that's sort of an overreaction to what's going on in the bond market. Really, over the long term, usually gold isn't, it's driven by a number of factors. But when it comes to interest rates, gold tends to be more sensitive to shorter date interest rates than longer date. So when you hear a lot of headlines and people talking about the bond market and the gold price, I think that's interesting. And yes, there may be some relationship there, but the stronger relationship traditionally has been with short rates, and those short rates are definitely not going up anytime soon, either in the U.S., Europe, Canada, you name it, right? There's no rates that are going up. If anything, people are on watch to see if rates are going to be cut. They're talking about cutting rates in Australia, cutting rates in New Zealand. So, I think any kind of weakness here we see in the gold price is probably a bit of a buying opportunity. We'll have to see, unless again, we have a real surprise on global growth. And right now, though, that the visibility on that is not very clear, that's for sure. If anything, people are still expecting tough times ahead, if not, underperformance in the global economy. Certainly, no one's expecting a big boom. But let's keep an eye on that energy price. If the energy price starts to move up and cracks through that $60 level on the WTI, it could be a new narrative that as we head into the summer here. So we'll keep a close eye on that.
The airline industry is a major consumer of petrol products, but Harbour Air of Vancouver, which runs float planes along the coast, wants to turn its fleet electric, and they're in tests right now to do that. Is that a game changer for the energy industry and also for the airline industry?
Well, it's a great story, and I wish them every success in doing it. I heard the CEO today talk about it, and it sounds quite doable. The challenge will be to move that from sort of small aircraft into larger aircraft, and that's a much bigger challenge because of the weight of the batteries. So,
I think he explained that the batteries weigh the same as the fuel would weigh.
Well, on the smaller aircraft, perhaps,
yeah.
But I'm not sure that's the case in a larger jet. So, that will eventually happen. I don't think there's any doubt. The question is, how quickly are they able to adapt that technology into large-scale production? So, things can move quite quickly when you have a breakthrough. But it's a very good story. And what's disappointing, Jim? We keep seeing the environmentalists, the Green Party here in Canada, really go on the warpath against the energy sector and try and shut it down. But you know what? It would be much more positive if they had been trying to promote innovation in areas like you've got in battery technology development. You're seeing that this Canadian float plane aircraft operator looking at. Unfortunately, the technology is in the United States. So, here we've had the environmentalists trying to shut down a major cash cow in Canada, which we could have been using. They could have been using their energy to, pardon the pun, to try and get some of the money that we get from the resource industry to plow it into research and development. But no, instead, they're out supporting blockades. Elizabeth May is out, up trying to stop Trans Mountain, when they've got their priorities all wrong. The Green Party and these environmentalists, they're doing the work, to promote the Saudi oil and the shale industry in the U.S. essentially, and they're cutting off a real source, trying to cut off a real source of potential cash that could have gone to Canadian innovation. So it's a real shame that the technology behind this isn't being developed here. But on balance, though, it's a great story.
We'll have more with Ted Dixon right after this.
Cypress Development Corp's flagship lithium project is located just east of Albemarle's Silver Peak mine in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. A 12-hole exploration drill program for lithium-enriched claystone on Cypress's 100% controlled properties is now underway. Cypress Development Corp trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the Pink's CYDVF, and on Frankfurt's C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Ted Dixon. Ted, you're making some changes with your Insider Index. Can you tell us about it?
We're making some improvements on the Canadian Insider site. That's at CanadianInsider.com, and on Friday, we're going to be releasing our new company pages that your viewers can take a look at. And on those company pages, we'll have a number of new features. We're going to have some short data, but we're also going to have our Ink Edge Outlook. For every month, we're going to update the Ink Edge Outlook for most stocks that have market caps over 20 million and have good trading volume. But basically what this looks at is an unbiased assessment of where a stock ranks based on their valuations, their insider commitment, and their price momentum. It's all done quantitatively. We don't sit around and make value judgments at Inc. It's all based off of the data. So it's unbiased. There's no promotion or subjectivity involved with that. And so your listeners can take a look at a stock and just see what our data says about it. And putting into context of other things they hear and other fundamental research that they do. And then it can be a very good tool to sort of give you a check to see what the data is saying in terms of a stock's prospects. So if its stock has a sunny outlook, for example, that means it's in the top 10% of all the ranking. And if it's got a rainy outlook, it's in the bottom 10%. So, Jim, you can guess which kind of stocks you want to look at. You want to look at the ones right with the sunny outlook, and you want to avoid the rain clouds. So hopefully your listeners will take a look over the next week or so at that new feature that we have. It's going to be released very soon.
Ted, thanks a lot for chatting with us.
Well, thanks for having me back.
My guest has been Ted Dixon, CEO and co-founder of inkresearch.ca, his website, CanadianInsider.com. You're listening to HowStreet.com radio. Find us on Twitter at HowStreet, our YouTube channel, Talk Digital Network. If you have any questions for Ted or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@HowStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.